Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. My name is Mica Pointer, and today I'm going to be working with you on the slip stitch. Now, if you had joined me before for doing the cross stitch and the whip stitch, then you'll recognize my diagram right here because the slip stitch as well is also a hemming stitch. Done on the bottom of like pant legs or something, if you're just turning up those hems, getting them up and out of the way. But the thing about the slip stitch is that where before for the whip stitch and the cross stitch, it was invisible just from the outside of the fabric, the right side of the fabric, what everyone's going to be seeing. The slip stitch is invisible from both sides of the fabric. Oh gosh, yeah. So to prep for this project, it will be the same way as we did for the whip stitch and the cross stitch, except this time we're going to be taking our our fresh piece of muslin and turning that up, again, just a quarter for the first fold and a ½ inch for the second fold. If you happen to have an iron handy on you, great. You can give this a press. You can wax your threads, no problem. Otherwise, if you don't, that's okay. Just try to give it as much of a press with your fingers as you can, or you can take it over to the edge of a table and just grate it over that sharp edge, which I think I'm going to do right now. If you will excuse me, this one side right here is giving me a bit of grief, so I'm going to try and get that locked in and cooperating with me as much as we can. So, okay, I still don't think I like how that's lining up, so I'm going to take a few pins from our package over here and probably put 3 in for this project, just to make sure these edges don't start wandering away from me and slipping down. So just pinning through all layers of the fabric. Okay, and one for the middle. Right there. And last one, just over here. Okay. Oops, a little crooked. Let me fix that. Okay, lovely. And just a reminder to all of you out there, in case you're joining me for the first time, I am left-handed, so most all of my instructing will be geared towards all of you left-handed folks out there, wherever ye be. If you are right-handed, I'll try to remind myself to say, like, this is the right-handed way of doing it. But if I forget, I apologize. But just bear in mind that the technique, the method for doing this is the same whether you're left-handed or right-handed. It's just the starting point and the direction that's going to be flipped around. So once again, I will try to remind myself to say when or how is the right-handed way of doing it, but my habit will be to do it from the left hand. All the same, we have a needle that is prepped here. The red seemed to show up marvelously, so that's what I'm using this time. Just single threaded, the knot at one end, just a few inches for the tail up there coming out of the eye. Now, the slip stitch is probably the most complicated of the hand hemming stitches that we have because of the nature that it has to be invisible from both sides. So I'll just reacquaint you with some of the ways I'm going to be describing the different layers of fabrics and the folds that we have going on here, because the way this is drawn up right now is as though you're looking at it in profile from the side like this. So this layer right here, I guess would be the right side of the fabric, the outside. I'm going to be referring to that at some points as the ground layer of the fabric because when you're looking at it like this, it's on the very bottom. This layer in the middle, the 1/4 inch that we had turned over the first time, that is, of course, the middle layer of fabric. Please don't make me explain that to you. This one just on the top right here, that ½ inch that we had turned, that I will often refer to as the top layer of fabric because as you're looking down on it, it's right there on the top. However, a lot of the work that we're going to be doing is going to involve this fold right here. I will describe a lot of stitches as happening on the fold. That's going to be just right at the top here. Of course, there's another fold right down here, but we're not going to be working with that at all. So this one remains safe. We're not going to touch it. Just leave it alone. For moments where I say that we're going to be tunneling, that is going to be slipping right in between this top and middle layer of fabric. So it's going to be going just right in between them, moving on down to the next part of the process. So I believe that is all I have to prep you with. Once again, just like with the cross stitch and the whip stitch, we're only going to be taking a one thread nibble out of the ground layer, out of the outside layer of fabric. And there again, you're going to have to be really precise, not only because of that small stitch, but because all of the stitches that we're going to be making on the fold right here are all going to be happening in the same hole. So yes, if that doesn't sound confusing enough already, hopefully walking through it will help to clarify that enough. But hopefully you're able to visualize some of the internal mechanics by the use of this diagram right here. So either way, to start, we're actually going to begin by slipping and tunneling. So we're going to be bringing up our knot from inside the fold. So it's going to be sitting just right on the fold right there, just right in the crook of the top and middle layers of fabric. So I'm going to find where those are with my needle, go up to the fold, and I'm going to pop through right on the fold. Okay. Because I'm left-handed, I'm starting on the left side of the project and working my way slowly towards the right. If you're right-handed, I suppose it would be opposite, starting on the right, moving towards the left. But whatever is most comfortable for you, if you happen to find that the left-handed way of sewing is more efficient, more comfortable, rather than the right-handed method, even though you may yourself be right-handed, great, whatever is best. But either way, once we bring that thread up from the fold, if you can see, focus, it's just coming right out of the fold there. So we're going to be jumping just next to where we came out. So just going straight across from the fold to the ground layer of fabric and taking that one thread nibble of fabric. Hopefully I can see this so it gets just one thread and I don't stab myself. Please. Okay, no, lost it. No, that's too many. Is that one? Yeah, that's one. Okay, whew, made it. So we grabbed that one thread. And now here's another point of precision because we're going to be going back into the fold in the same place where we came out. So I'm sorry I might have to go off camera a little bit just to bring the project closer to my eyes so I can see that without getting my head in the way of the lens. So, okay. Got that. So maybe if you can see, bring it in focus. I put my needle back in the fold where we came out. I'm going to tunnel down between those two layers of fabric. So tunneling between the top and middle layers of fabric. And I'm going to come out again on the fold. Okay. Whoops, without getting tangled up on myself. So, sort those out. So did you see how it just kind of disappeared right there where we made that stitch? So that keeps it invisible on this side. And if we flip it to the other side, let's see, moment of truth. That itty bitty bitty little pick. Okay, cool. So we came out, we're going to jump over to the ground layer, take that one single thread. Just one, please, one, please. Okay, there we go. Take that one thread, and going back in where we came out, if I can manage it. Okay, cool. We're gonna be tunneling down, slipping the needle between those layers, and coming out again. These are gonna be about a 1/4 inch apart, I should say. Yeah, I'm gonna shoot for that. And there's a lovely story that Vicky has to go along with this that is really quite charming and I love so much. So I'm totally gonna rip it off of her and tell you about it right now. But it's like, imagine that your needle is a little rabbit who's going along and he pops out of the hole. The rabbit takes a nibble of just one blade of grass. One blade of grass. Just one. Come on. Don't want any fat rabbits taking 2 or more blades of grass. Okay. Nibbles one blade of grass. And then it thinks it sees a hawk. So it jumps very carefully back. Oh gosh. Back into the hole. Back into the hole. I said back into the... Okay. Back into the hole and digs a tunnel. And it digs a tunnel and digs a tunnel. And it comes back out a little bit later. Pop, right there. We're going along nicely, so I'm gonna take my pin out since it seems like it's holding up okay. The rabbit jumps back out a little bit further down the glen. And it takes a little nibble of grass. Just one? Just one? Yes, just one. Okay. Nibble of just one blade of grass. And then it thinks it sees an owl. So it's gonna jump back into the hole. It's a very slow owl. It's rather sleepy, so he's got plenty of time to make his escape, apparently. Okay, there we go. Digs his tunnel down, comes back out again, and he just keeps chomping away, digging his tunnel, nibbling at the grass until you get to the end. So, hopefully that all makes sense to you. And as you notice, barely any of our stitches show from this side, and barely any of our stitches show from this side. Okay, so that's what we're going to be looking for, is the evenness of the length of the stitches right here, making sure that it doesn't spontaneously start to wander up or slouch down for where that fold is sitting, and making sure that we don't see any of the threads from either the wrong side or the right side, the inside or the outside of the project. So, if you have any questions, my email is up on the UO website under graduate students for tying this off. Once again, let me see. We're going to be taking a little nibble of fabric. There we go. And we can take just a small bite of the fold, just as though we were doing an anchor stitch. Make a loop off of that. Go through the loop. Go through the loop. Pull it tight. Except we're not going to leave the tail alone and just clip it off. We're going to tunnel our tails So there again, we're going to go through the fold in where we came out, tunneling between the layers, coming out much further down the project. So that way when we pull the tail in, we can pull it just a little bit taut, a little bit more taut, and snip it right there. So that way when the fabric relaxes, the tail gets pulled in between those layers. And with this being all the way at the end, optimally, when you have finished your line of stitching, you should barely be able to see it, and especially if whatever project you're working on has the same color thread as whatever fabric it is made out of, then optimally it should just disappear, never be seen or heard from again, until you have to take it all out to fit it to the next actor in the next show you're working on. So, again, I hope that all made sense to you. I hope it all goes well. And if you need further clarification or assistance, feel free to email me. And otherwise, I wish you happy sewing.